Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Today we've got a very special video for you. We've been asking fans from all around the world, Leicester City fans of course, who would make your ultimate Leicester City team, your top 11, and we've got subs as well. What a debate this has caused over all our social channels. We've had loads and loads of votes, lots of debate, some of it a bit steamy, but generally we've got down to the Leicester City ultimate 11 of all time. Now joining me from the Fox's Arms all the way out in Alcudia is the one and only Jamie. Let's add him in. Jamie.
Afternoon all. How's it going? Are we all well? I'm looking forward to this. A few controversial decisions made in this team selection, pal.
There's a few in there that obviously I've seen how the voting's gone. There's some in there that I wholeheartedly agree with. Some I think we might be arguing about, Jamie, but it's going to be an interesting one.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. So who we're going to go first for then, Phil? Where we're going to start?
Well, it seems to make sense, doesn't it, to start at the back, Jamie? Talk us through the goalkeepers. Which were the ones sort of in the running for it?
The ones in the running were, it was my first keeper, this was, Mark Wallington. You remember Mark Wallington, don't you, Phil? It was your first keeper as well, wasn't he?
Again, we're from that era where Mark Wallington, Wallo, was what an absolute, a great keeper, Jamie. He played, I think, you probably got the stats. I know you're the stato, but he played something like 300-400 games on the spin, didn't he, for us?
He played 331 games on the trot for the club, and then he got injured against, it was Shrewsbury, wasn't it? It was the quarter-final of the Cup.
It was,
against Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
As we've just beat Man U in the quarter-finals, we ought to get that in. And he got injured, and then he went on another run of about 120 games after that as well. So he had a good run. He played 460 games for the club altogether. It's not bad going for a keeper.
He never really got recognition for England, did he? I don't know if he made a couple of performances, but there was obviously Shilton, Clements. He was at a time of rich form in English football, but he was a great keeper.
He played for the under-23s back then. It was the under-23s back then, didn't he? He played for the England under-23s, but unfortunately never made the England squad, but like you say, he had Shilton, Clements, Banks still going then. You had plenty of keepers back then, didn't you? That were good keepers, and he was never going to be getting into the team at all, was it? Next on my list, we've already mentioned him, was Peter Shilton. What a quality player he is. And just on a side note, Peter Shilton's my dad's second cousin, and he didn't make the team, so there was no favouritism in this because he didn't even make the team, even though he's my dad's second cousin. Shilton made 340 appearances, and he actually scored one goal. A keeper scoring a goal, Phil, that's unusual nowadays, isn't it?
Now, I'm going to say he scored against Southampton. Do you know who he scored against?
Southampton away it was.
I can't remember what I did this morning, Jamie, but I can remember silly facts like that.
Big punt upfield, and it bounced. It must have been one of the wind, and it bounced over the keeper. I think it was in a 4-1, 5-1 win, I think. So, Peter Shilton, quality England player. I think he would have scored, would have played more games if it hadn't been for Ray Clements. It was them that were vying for it, wasn't it? So to have the quality of keepers we've had is unbelievable. The reason Gordon Banks isn't in this list, Phil, it was 1970. We started the team from 1970. So I think Gordon Banks might have won this quite easily. But that's why Gordon Banks isn't in there.
I think it's a tricky one, isn't it? And we decided to go for what we'd class as a modern day era. I mean, many people would say 70s and 80s isn't really modern day, but that took us back 60 years of, 50 odd years of football, didn't it? And I think Gordon Banks, certainly we know there's lots of older Leicester City fans who saw Banks, who swear blind that he would be number one. It's such a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, Mark Wallington, so many games, but in an era when we were a bit up and down. Peter Shilton, perhaps we didn't see the best of Peter Shilton at Leicester. I don't know. He had obviously a long career, didn't he?
I think he was better at Forest as well, and Stoke. He was at Stoke as well for a bit as well. So I think he was better at the other clubs than he was at Leicester. He was just a young player back here, wasn't he? But he still did the job for us, and he's a quality keeper, and he's always mentioned in the legendary status of the club, I think. And then Phil, now, and the winner. Shall we go for the winner? I think it's pretty obvious who the winner is, isn't it? It's a title winner, son of a title winner, and our very own Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, Kasper Schmeichel.
What a keeper.
Gets the nod by Leicester fans. Obviously still currently in the Leicester City side, Jamie. And again, Give us some. Have you got some stats on Casper?
Yeah, he's been here. He's been here 11 years. Sven signed him. He's played 414 games, and he's hardly missed any games. I bet he's missed what 15, 20 games maybe over all that time. So he'd be near the 450 mark if he hadn't missed them games. So yeah, so a quality keeper, 414 games for Leicester, and he's still got years in him. He's still got 3 or 4 years in him quite easily, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue, Jamie, that he's coming into his best at the moment. I always think a keeper, they need to get to their 30s before they've got all that experience. It's all in the head, I think, being a keeper, you know. So Casper, I think we've probably got another couple, 2, 3, 4 of his best seasons yet to come.
Yeah. You have to be you have to have something wrong with you to be a keeper, don't you? Because it's a very, very, very solitary life playing as a keeper, isn't it? Sometimes, but he's good, great shot stopper. Distribution is really good. Yeah. So Casper is our #1 keeper voted via the fans, which is a good choice. I think I'd have gone for Casper.
You see, I'm not quite 100% sure I'd have gone with Casper. I think he is a great shot stopper. And obviously he's been captain quite a lot on and off in the last season, so you can clearly see the passion for him. It's very different because of the eras, and this will be part of the debate we have today, Jamie. I've just got a feeling from my experience, I think Mark Wallington was a great keeper. I didn't see much of Shilton before my time, but I think it's an interesting one. I've got no problem with it being Kasper Schmeichel, but in my head, I think I remember Mark Wallington perhaps very, very fondly as a keeper who always very steady in there. But it was a different game because Casper's distribution is way more complex than what Wallington and Shilton and Banks have ever to do.
Well, they only used to pick it up and punt it, didn't they, really, the keepers?
Yeah.
They never used to play as a sweeper, really. But nowadays, the keeper has to be an all-round game. And it was a different type of football, isn't it, back in the days when there were muddy fields and heavy balls and stuff like that. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think Casper, I'd have gone for Casper. My favourite would have been Mark Wallington, personally. But as actually an all-round, I've gone for Casper. I would have gone for Casper.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So Casper gets the nod as the keeper.
He does. Quality choice by the fans. Quality choice. Right. Shall we do the centre backs or shall we do the 2 full backs next, Phil?
Oh, let's start at left back, shall we?
Left back. Well, we had the choices of left backs. We had Dennis Rofe from the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. We had David Nish as well. David Nish moved to Derby as he was the youngest ever captain, wasn't he? He was the youngest ever captain to win. That was the Man City game, wasn't he? When in the cup, he was the youngest ever captain for Leicester to captain, and then he went on to win the league at Derby in the 70s, which I thought he'd stood a good chance, but no, David Nish didn't get in the team. Dennis Rofe, good signing, good quality signing. I loved Dennis Rofe when he was here.
Yes.
He was my first really tough player. Moved on to Chelsea. Thought they were going to win things at Chelsea, but didn't happen for him, did it? He moved halfway through the season, but no, Leicester got promoted instead. And last but not least, as the left back, Christian Fuchs. Christian Fuchs won it as the most voted full left back to play for the club.
So Christian Fuchs, it makes our ultimate starting 11, Jamie.
Christian Fuchs makes the ultimate starting 11, the ultimate team 11. Yes, he does, which I think is another good one. I mean, there's been quite a few decent left backs in the past. Isn't there? Bobby Smith, he moved from striker to left back. He didn't get many votes. He only got 2% of the votes. Which I was quite surprised about.
R.I.P. Bobby Smith. I remember him sitting in the East Stand. The blokes around us always used to shout at Bobby Smith, "Get on your bike!" I don't know what. Always get on your bike, Bobby, because he could fly up and down from a left back. He was a very attacking left back before it was that fashionable, almost playing. I
think that was to do with his striker knowledge, wasn't it? Because he came as a striker. Yeah. I think he used to play up front with Alan Young, didn't he? Oh, the big yin up front. So he knew. I think that was the reason he thought, I've got a chance of scoring it, and he used to scored some cracking goals with his left foot. But I think most people with left foots look pretty cultured, don't they? When they're strikers, they do look pretty cultured with that left foot. But Christian Fuchs, another title-winning man, solid at the back. He's played 152 games. He's scored 3 goals for the clubs. So yeah, I think he deserves it because of the title winning. We haven't had many quality left backs over the time at the club, have we? Really? But I think Christian Fuchs deserves that slot in there. To be honest.
I think again he came in from from abroad, didn't he? And we didn't know anything hardly about him. I think that, Jamie, this is going to be a theme, isn't it? Leicester's been going since 1884, as we know. If you were the left back in that glorious period of winning it, I think, it's going to give you a fair nod above, players like Bobby Smith, Dennis Rowe, playing in the second division in the 70s, and even players in the 80s, or it's just not the same as being in that team who went on to win the Premier League. So
I mean, there was a couple of votes for Mickey Whitlow as well in the Martin O'Neill, Brian Little era. So but we haven't had a quality left back, and I think he's probably the most quality left back that we've had, to be honest, at the club. I think he deserves to be in the ultimate team.
Yeah, so Christian Fuchs is the left back, goes in there with Casper. Should we move on to right back, Jamie?
Move on to right back, shall we? We had some pretty interesting choices here. Old Steve Whitworth, who's just had his birthday actually last week, so decent. He's still about. Steve Whitworth got a fair percentage of the votes, but not quite enough.
Great player. Was my first quality. Steve Whitworth was my first hero, and he was just a right back, but ginger haired, big hero for me back in the day.
He only ever scored one goal, and it wasn't a legal goal as well. You know why it wasn't a legal goal?
No.
He scored the winner. Stevie Whitworth scored the winner in the Charity Shield back in the early 70s, 71. And because the Charity Shield is only glorified friendly, it doesn't actually count as a proper goal.
And Jamie Vardy had similar, didn't he? His goal in the Community Shield, as it was a couple of years ago against Man United. There's debate whether it stands or it doesn't stand, but
it's just a glorified friendly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So Steve Whitworth was in with a shout.
Yeah. Danny Simpson was in with a shout as well. Another title winner, decent fullback.
Never let us down. Never let us down, did he?
Did he?
Danny Simpson. He was very solid.
He had to do a lot more defending than Christian Fuchs because he had Mahrez in front of him, didn't he? So he had to do more defending. Mahrez used to do all the easy work and the tackling and the skillful bit, and Mahrez and Simpson has to do all the donkey work. But no, he didn't make it at all. Even JJ got a load of votes as well, which I was quite surprised. Just James Justin, I think that's on his performances so far. But no, the win. Unfortunately, JJ's injured now. He'd still got in the team just because of injury. It doesn't matter. But the winner was by an absolute mile with 65% of the vote, Ricardo Pereira.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Jamie? Yeah, I mean, Ricardo, he joined us, 2 seasons ago, Ricardo Pereira?
This is his third season. Yeah, this is his third season, yes.
And he spent some of the time on the obviously the injury list. Clearly a quality player, and we've seen some very exciting things. Again, I think it's an interesting one to have him in the ultimate side because I think we've still got to see the best from him. So I'm not sure I would agree with Ricardo Pereira as the ultimate Leicester City right back yet.
No, I think he will be. If you give it another 10 years, yes, I think he will be. But like you say, there was a full range of people. I asked absolutely loads of people for the vote, from people that in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, everyone. I asked everyone I knew to get a full age rate. So I got the complete, and a lot of them, 65% of the vote is a lot of percentage of the vote. So most people picked him in that team. He scored 83. Played 83 games and scored 6 goals. He's going to be in that ultimate team in about 10 years' time. If we do this again in 10 years' time, when we're 60, Phil, then he'll be definitely in there.
The fear maybe with Ricardo is, Jamie, for me, as we sit here in 2021, is how long can Leicester keep hold of a player like that? Because I don't see him potentially going to even a Man United or somewhere like that. I think he could well end up at a Barcelona or a Man City, a Man City, a Real Madrid. I think he will go to the top.
I think he will. He'll be one of the players, with one of the few players that could fit in a side of Barcelona, Real Madrid on the continent quite easily and just slot in. I think he'd be a quality player, and we've just got to hope he stays here for as long as possible. Winning trophies means players will stay. So let's hope we win something and we keep him for 2 or 3 more years and grow and grow and grow. But at the minute, that's what the fans voted for, Ricardo Pereira in the ultimate team.
So we've got Ricardo. It is Ricardo Pereira in there as right back. We've got Christian Fuchs as left back. We've got Casper in as the keeper. Let's move on to the centre backs, Jamie, and see. It's
looking a bit modern day-ish, isn't it, Phil?
Team. It is, but let's see where we go with centre backs.
But shall I throw a curveball in now with these centre backs? Right, this was interesting. We had loads of votes on this. We had loads of votes. Graham Cross, that's a little bit before my time, but I know him. The old, he was a postman, wasn't he? Post office man when he finished his career. Stayed in Leicester. He played 600 games. Actually, sorry, he played 599. He also played in the Charity Shield game that didn't count. So he missed out by one game of playing 600 games. Harry Maguire got a few votes, which I was a bit surprised about. He got 4% of the votes, which...
I mean, people knock Harry Maguire, obviously, because we've got bitter taste in our mouths because he wants to go and win things with Man United. But the reality is, he had a very good 18-month patch with us. I mean, the debate, as we've had many times, Jamie, is my view is Johnny Evans makes people like Harry Maguire and Soyuncu look good. So for me, Johnny Evans is the reason Harry Maguire looks so good. But he got some votes, fair enough. Who else?
Yeah, Johnny Evans got us a few votes as well. Just some of the outsiders. John O'Neill, he used to be my favourite player. When I was growing up, I used to play centre half for the school, and John O'Neill was there. Him and Larry May were absolutely fantastic. And unfortunately, his career got injured by Justin Fashio's by an injury, didn't he, by one of the Fashio brothers. But he was a quality player. I used to try and star myself on him, but I just couldn't talk Irish, and I couldn't understand it.
No, it was hard to understand. Play for, was it Northern Ireland, John O'Neill?
Yes, Northern Ireland. Yes.
It was Northern Ireland.
No, Northern, yeah.
He made quite a few good appearances for them. Larry May, now listen, I must say Larry May is again one of my childhood heroes for the fact that I was at Leyton Orient away in 1979 when we had to win at Orient to get promoted up from Division 2, and Larry May scored the header. I went at Orient's ground, I think it was Brisbane Lane or something then in the day. Brisbane Road. There was, again, it was one of these, I think I would have been only an 8-year-old kid back then. My dad took me. I think there was 10 or 11,000 Leicester fans went down to London to the Orient game. And it was an old ground. The stands were packed. Larry May scores. On the pitch, it was chaotic. It was the crossbar gets broken, I think. Fans swinging on it. It was a mental day. So Larry May
scored some good goals, didn't he? That one against Shrewsbury, mentioned in the quarter-final. He scored the first goal in the quarter-final against Shrewsbury. He scored the winner against Leyton Orient a couple of years earlier. He was a quality player. I'm surprised, but then again, it's the time it was. The people that voted. It's unfortunately
and second division as well.
Yeah. Robert Huth sneaked in. Well, didn't sneak it. He's not in the ultimate team. But he got 30% of the votes, which is pretty damn good for Robert Huth. I mean, what a signing he was, Phil. When he turned up from Stoke, he didn't look very happy, did he, when he first signed? Remember at that press conference, he was like with his shirt, yeah. But he was a quality defender, wasn't he? He nearly won us that league, didn't he? With them 2 goals against Man City, Robert Huth. Unbelievable performance that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, again, one of these players, a bit like Johnny Evans, a little bit a bargain who'd obviously been there, seen there and done it, and were very experienced at the back. So Robert Huth's a great shout.
And then the next one, that's he's not even made the team. He's only made the subs bench, this bloke has. Wes Morgan. Wes Morgan has only made the subs bench. I mean, wouldn't it be great, Phil, if we got to the FA Cup final and won it and he lifted the trophy this year? That would be just true legendary status if he could manage to do that. Absolutely. But he doesn't even only makes the bench. He doesn't make the starting 11.
He makes the suspension.
He makes the subs bench. Wes has played 321 games and scored 14 goals. And the performances he did in the title-winning season, 15-16, absolutely fantastic. But he only makes the subs bench, Phil. So, who do you think?
I think Wes might well go on to become what is a proper legend for the club, in the fact that he's still there at the club. I think hopefully he's going to stay involved with the club for a long time. And obviously he comes with that added... some of my cousins are Forest fans, and I love it when we meet up with them because they sort of... Wes is a Forest lad. He comes from Nottingham. You know, he went through their system, and then they sort of let him go when Forest and Leicester were at a similar stage, and he leapt across from the Trent side. And I think, you know, he's become a Leicester... we've adopted him, haven't we? So, and he obviously was very emotional. He lifted the Premier League trophy. So the subs bench, I think, is fine for Wes. I think in the future he may actually, if we were to review this in years to come, it might change. Because talk us through who has made the centre back. So.
Talk us through. Should we do this? We'll do this as a double header because
I think so.
These deserve to be talked together. It's none other than Stevie Walsh and Matty Elliott. You can't. I mean, what more do you need to say about either one of them two players? What signings both were. Stevie Walsh from Wigan, Matty Elliott from Oxford. It was untrue. Stevie Walsh missed the Leicester City. We've had him on a few times, haven't we, Phil? And he talks a good game as well as plays a good game. Stevie Walsh, 450 games, 62 goals as a centre half. 62 goals. I know some of them were scored as a centre forward in that one season for Brighton Nichols, but quality defender where nothing got past him, did it? Absolutely nothing got past him. And Matty Elliott, same again. O'Neill signed him, didn't it? I think it was for 1.5 million, 1.6 from Oxford, of all places, Oxford. And the transformation when he just stepped up from third division to Premiership, just like that, quite easily. 290 games and 33 goals. Another quality defender that knew where the back of the net was. It's a shame our centre halves nowadays don't know where the back of the net is.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Jamie? Because there you go, centre halves. Robert Huth, Wes Morgan, Soyuncu, Johnny Evans. We've got all these modern day players, and to be fair, fans. It just shows you that fans of all ages love Bosch, Avett, Walshy, and Matty Elliott. We are not messing around. I mean, Steve Walsh, like you say, we've chatted to him many times. He's probably the ultimate Leicester City player of all time. Jamie is Steve Walsh.
He
would probably win that.
I didn't ask about captains, but I think Steve Walsh would have to be the captain of this side, don't you think? No matter who else is in the rest of the team, Stevie Walsh would have to be captain. He would be my captain, surely. There's no other person that could be captain, is there?
Well, Matt Elliott would be a fair shout as well, because both of them, what they left on the pitch was absolutely everything, wasn't it? If we needed whatever result we needed, when we lost, obviously we lost with them in the team plenty of times, but if we lost, they'd left it out on the pitch. They'd done everything they could within the rules, and sometimes with Walshy as well outside the rules. Those tussles with Steve Bull and that, they would have done anything to get Leicester City a win.
Oh yeah, they would. Legendary. Then with Steve Bull, absolutely legendary, brilliant. But you can't think of a better combination than Walsh and Elliott. I mean, even Joey Taggart, I thought Joey Taggart was a good shout as well. He only got 2% of the vote. 2%. And he was the same time as. So it just shows how many people thought that Stevie Walsh and Matty Elliott were the men to be in the two centre halves. And we had to go for a 4-4-2, being 50 years, Phil. We couldn't do it any other way, could we? Us old school people like a 4-4-2, don't we?
So let's just go back through that. We've got Casper in goal. We've got Ricardo Pereira at right back. We've got Christian Fuchs as left back. And then centre backs, got Matt Elliott and Steve Walsh. I mean, it's already looking like an ultimate team, isn't it? It's looking very good.
It is. It's looking good, that isn't it? I mean, just wait. We've got another 6 more players to go on that list. Let's just see what we've got. I think this could be a Premiership winning team. This was if they were playing now. If Walsh's knee stood up, it would be a Premiership winning team.
The culture of Ricardo Pereira next to Steve Walsh.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't
that?
It? Yeah, can you imagine some of the conversations he would have? Come on, get back. Well, there'd be a few expletives in there, wouldn't there? He wouldn't let him be running amok like he does nowadays.